Good evening. Good evening, everyone. It is Friday, December 12th, 2025. At least for another few weeks. It's 2025. So hello everyone. And I hope we're having a great Friday night. I have been dealing with a headache, but I cannot cancel on you guys tonight. I just couldn't stay away. So I have my Kyle juice here. It's actually pretty good. It's the peach one. I don't know if you ever had peach one or not, but it's pretty awesome. Hello everybody in the chat. I see you. I see you. We got some news. Now I watch a lot of other people, like I guess influencers, like news influencers, and Owen Schroyer was talking about how it's never a slow news day. There's always some news. You know, there's always some news, but some things are just less exciting than others. So we do have stuff to talk about tonight. And I for the title I did put the Somali thing that's going on, because everyone's talking about the Somalians. It's all Somalians. And Trump is just all Somalian, Somalia is garbage and everything else. And and then and then you have the mayor, I think it was the mayor of Minneapolis or something, eating Somalian food and looking like he's being held hostage. It was absolutely hilarious. I don't know if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's so funny. So funny. Because somebody said that, if he takes one bite and then just starts playing with the food, then it's bad. So, how bad can it be? I saw somebody else get Somali takeout. They're gonna try it for themselves, because how bad can it be? Apparently it was really bad. She was just she just took a bite of almost everything. It was just nah. But one thing was just beans. How can you mess up beans? I don't know. As a Latina, I think that it is, I don't know, sacrilegious to mess up beans, because it's a big staple. I was raised eating, beans, and to see the beans in that thing, and she takes a bite and she's like, no, how can you mess up beans? I don't know. Anyway, that's just me, because I'm I love to cook, and I even like to cook international foods. I make a Japanese curry, and I make Honduran food, because I'm raised in a Honduran household. And of course I make the southern typical country stuff, raised in the South, obviously by my accent. So anyway, yeah. So what happened? The reason the whole Somali thing kind of came up, for one reason, is it Ilhan, whatever. I'll just call her Omar, Rep Omar, because obviously she's Somalian. Everybody knows she's Somalian. And so in some way, the whole topic of Somalians never leaves, because she's always everywhere. She's very opinionated, in front of the camera a lot, and she gets herself into stuff with her mouth. But because she has the D next to her name, she never has to own up for it, which is obviously intentional. So the whole topic of Somalia never goes away, because she unfortunately won't go away. She's absolutely insufferable. But recently, unless you've been living under a rock, you'll know that the Somali community, or at least a huge part of the Somali community in Minnesota, they were found to have been doing massive fraud. I think it was during COVID or since COVID, the whole when the government was throwing money at COVID stuff, programs and whatnot. So apparently they were, I believe one thing that they were supposedly doing that was fraudulent was that they were supposedly supposed to, like, it was like 100 or maybe like a couple weeks or so, and they actually like submitted names and stuff. Like, big problem. That was a name that they made for a child, supposedly that they were feeding. But there were no kids, and there was no food. Like, there was a facility, but there was nothing coming out of it or going into it. It was just people basically pocketing the money. And I know, it's not the only they're not the only people that did it during COVID. There's a lot of people that took advantage of taxpayer dollars during COVID. It was a shit show, to say the least. So yeah, like, the thing is that what the left has this severe white savior complex. I don't like to bring like race into things because I think it's just like low hanging fruit, especially because the left is obsessed with race. And I did not grow up obsessed with race. I grew up, my mother taught me that in this country you can be anything you want and do anything you want as long as you work for it, which is true. If you work for it, you there's nothing else that's holding you back. That's just the opportunities this country has. So I never grew up seeing any kind of victimization or anything through the lens of race. And my mother's an immigrant, and she, worked her way up from, nothing to, something now. So I've seen it with my own eyes. You work your ass off, you can, live a comfortable life, and the opportunity is there. However, it's also come to find that a lot in the Somali community. Now, of course, I know there's other communities, okay? But I shouldn't have to preface this because y'all aren't just going to be like judgy leftists who say, what about this? What about that? Y'all are about the whataboutisms, which is why I love y'all. But there's a lot in the Somali community, and I believe it's actually like, I could be wrong, but I think I heard the statistic of 54% of like the Somalians, it could be either here or in the UK, are on government assistance, like immigrants. Now, I understand government assistance, like, I'm not a fan of the welfare state. I do get and understand helping somebody and using it as not really stepping stone, but using it as it's needed, but not as a permanent thing. It should never be permanent. However, they're just using it to just live, not to use it while you're down, while you work your way up to add your situation, like it should be. If these programs are going to exist, they should be for, people who need it while they're down as they work their way out of it. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to work their way out of it. So you get people that just purposely drain on the taxpayers. And there's people with no remorse in that. And apparently there's a big part of the Somali community that do that. And then that's lack of contribution and all of just taking in. So the country of Somalia apparently is like riddled with crime, riddled with war, and just like unrest. And it's just so funny because you hear Ilan Omar say things like, I miss Somalia, I wish to live there. Well, go. Why are you here? Like, no one's stopping you. Like, I'm not even saying that to be mean. She obviously has the money because she went from like a small net worth to quite a nice net worth now. So she can live quite comfortably in Somalia. So why, I don't get why she's here. And like I said, I'm not even saying that in like a mean girl way. Like girl, like you have the money. If that's where you want to be, then why just go? Like, if I had the money, I would love to be in Japan personally, because Japan is like, it's clean, it's wonderful, I love Japan. But then she cries to all the Somali community, I do all this for Somalia, I do this for Somalia, but you're here. We should be doing things for here. That's the point of being a U.S. representative. But instead, you're a Somalian representative. It doesn't make sense. Like, it makes sense if you have other motives, and well, that's honestly, she's not the only one. We all know that there's people in our Congress or in our government in general that don't put America first. I'm past America first at this point. I'm America only. And America only merch will be coming soon. Okay, I'm working on it. So we have people running our government who aren't even going to put the nation they represent first. And I'd even say that's most of them. Most of them don't even put our nation first. And you especially, of course, like you have like things like IPAC that give them money so they won't put America first. And then you have people like Ilan Omar. She doesn't take IPAC money, I believe. But she's all about, representing Somalia, doing stuff for Somalia, favor of Somalia. It's just silly. All right. So anyway, I digressed from the whole leftist do the white savior thing. The reason I brought that up is because the fraud they were doing, apparently they were brought to court. All the evidence was like stacked against them, and the jury actually came back with this is our findings, or this is what we decided on. And the judge was like, nope, I'm not going to do that. What? Like, I'm sure you can guess what side of the aisle that judge was on. White savior stuff. That's all it is. And it's the bigotry of low expectations. Now, as somebody who is, like I said, again, a Latina, if you can't tell by looking at me, I would rather be treated equally than special treatment to be given to me because people think that I'm lesser in some way. Because that's all it is. They see themselves, they see minorities and such as lesser. So they patronize them. They, give them special treatment. I don't want special treatment. Even if it is to my benefit, I would rather be treated like anybody else. But there's some people who will allow that, or doesn't register with them, that, hey, they're giving you special treatment because they see that you're lesser, or they think that you're lesser. It's like the racist and the woke. I shared this video, and I've seen it before I even shared it. It was about how a racist and a woke person actually agree on basically everything. Because it's true. And of course, they're going to, the cognitive dissonance with the whole thing about how they don't see themselves as racist. And they call everybody else racist. I'm sorry, I'm not a racist because I refuse to give somebody special treatment for their race. If anything, I'm absolutely not a racist because I refuse to give anybody special treatment for their race or anything. Because I just treat everybody equally. Isn't that supposed to be the thing? And as long as you're still going to treat people special because they're different, aren't you just kind of going against what you're even trying to say? Oh, well, they've been treated differently throughout history, so we're going to give them a leg up. Yeah, but, shouldn't they been, if they were supposed to be treated equally then, why not just treat them equally now? No. That's why, I'm glad that DEI is going away, or has gone away, but I don't think it's entirely gone away. So yeah, it's bigotry of low expectations. And Tim Walz, Tampon Tim, is even he brings, okay, so here's what's crazy. And this analogy might piss some people off. I really don't care. It's an analogy, all right? So during Black Lives Matter, when it was at its height, the left would say, yes, we say Black Lives Matter because right now we're focusing on Black lives. Okay. Whereas like the other people will say all lives matter. It's like, well, we're focusing on Black lives right now because that's who the focus is on. That's what, all this, uh, police issues going on. But when this issue is that there's Somalians committing fraud, Tim Walz says, well, there's many white people who are committing fraud. There's many white people who should be jailed as well. It's like, I'm sorry, but aren't we supposed to be focusing on the people that are at the forefront right now? Like, now you want to bring up white people. Now you want to talk about white people and how, they're the same in some ways, like how they're the same as being fraudsters and such. Only when it's bad. Tampon Tim was the biggest joke for them to put forward in the Democrat Party. I don't get how and why they even chose him as Kamala's running mate, because I heard they tried to, because he could fix a truck, they tried to bring in like the masculine vote. Like Tim Walz is like the least masculine dude in the Democrat Party, aside from Gavin. No, I would say Gavin Newsom is probably actually more masculine than Tampon Tim. I was going to say Trudeau, but Trudeau's Canadian. He's not a Democrat, although he would be equivalent to a Democrat if he was American. So, yeah. All right, chat. I've blabbed enough about this. Let's see. Or Harrison. Miss the first part. They never focus on crimes committed by people of color. Yeah, that's definitely true, especially because a lot of the people that ICE are hunting and detaining are criminals, like actual criminals, like rapists, people who assault. And then you have these like white savior lefties trying to block the ICE truck. It's like, do you know who they're carrying? They're carrying like a gang member. They're carrying like a rapist. They're carrying like a woman beater, and you're trying to stop them. It doesn't make any sense. Tim Walz is as masculine as a mouse. No, a mouse is more masculine. Have you seen Jerry? Whenever like on Tom and Jerry, whenever he'd flex, like he was a lot more masculine than Tim Walz. That's for sure. That's for damn sure. Tim Walz talks about how he's masculine because he can fix a truck. I'm sorry, I do a lot of my own car repairs. Like, if I don't need an actual, like, special tool, I'll do it myself. And how masculine do I look? I'm not going to claim to be masculine just because I can do car repairs. It's stupid. Let's see here. What else you gotta say, chat? Because this looks bad on Tampon Tim. This whole Somalian fraud thing, especially because they're throwing it out, and it just further shows this whole, oh, let them get away with it because they're like, they didn't mean it, or they come from such a war-torn place, or they don't understand this. Whatever their reasoning is, they're obviously not treating them equally. It's bigotry, low expectations, for one. And secondly, they are, I would say in a way, cutting off their nose to spite their face just to show how virtuous they are. And I'm fatigued, y'all. I am so fatigued with virtue signal, like, especially at the expense of other people. Like, virtue signaling it's not only in some ways offensive, depending on like what the virtue is. In this case, it is pretty offensive because it's bigotry of low expectations for the Somali community. But it's exhausting. It really is. When is this going to stop? Is it stopping yet? Like, is it stopping yet? I'm so like the whole virtue statement. Like no one cares. You want a sticker? Is that what you want? You want a sticker, okay? You want a pat on the back? Because nobody really cares anymore. People are even embracing being called racist because they know they're not actually a racist, but they're going to be called a racist regardless. So some people are just like, sure, yeah. Like the Cinnabon lady. Although she was really going to town on that. That was quite a video. If you haven't seen that, there's a lady that works for Cinnabon who got in a verbal altercation with some customers. I believe the customers actually were Somali, and it's quite the video. Bananarama stickers. Yeah, if I had some Bananarama stickers, actually, I have some taxation is theft stickers from Dan Behrman. He gave me like a stack like that big, and I'm putting some of those in the sign calendars. Once the photo. Okay, so I know just a little update on that. I had to order the photos that I include with the sign calendar. I had to order those from Shutterfly, and because I know this is taking a bit to get those out, I made them bigger, so they're bigger than last year. And you're also getting taxation stuff stickers too. So you're getting the signed 5x7, a random pinup that didn't make the calendar, and some stickers to go with that. So yeah, that's the update on that. All right. Anyway. I'll walk around calling people racist and looking superior. The VS sticker will allow it. I don't know what the VS sticker is. So yeah. Anyway, the whole Somalian thing I think is dumb. Like of all immigrant communities, it's the Somalians that are on the focus right now. But then again, there is like the Somali community is the one that just did this whole, like, not the entire, of course, but the Somali community is the one that did this whole I think it was in the billions, all that fraud that they ended up calculating from the community. So that's why the spotlight's on them right now. And doing some pre-stream kind of research in a way. Ted Cruz. Now, everybody knows I'm not a fan of Ted. All right. I just, the guy's breath smells like Netanyahu's crotch. Okay. So I'm not a fan of Ted Cruz by any means. But I do think it's funny that he's actually trying to draft some way to it brings some charges on Ilan Omar because some like immigration fraud, for instance. So that I thought was pretty funny. Oh, I got to bring this one up here. Lily Tang Williams is a good politician. She's a great politician, and she's a very wonderful lady. And I think anybody who is in that state, vicinity, whatever, should vote for Miss Lily Tang Williams because she is an absolute sweetheart. She is a strong patriot, and she is really all about liberty. She's actually like libertarian leaning, even though she's running as like Republican, but she is an absolutely amazing woman. So yes, vote for Lily. All right. So off the topic of the Somalis, because I don't like talking about the Somalis really, because it's just kind of like, it's draining. It's just kind of like, okay, here is another population that is taking us for a ride because we have the damn welfare state, which is just another waste of our money. I want to get into the tea, which is the right-wing influencer civil war that's going on. And some say it's like a MAGA civil war. I don't even give it that much credit. So, obviously, as a libertarian, I'm sitting from the sidelines. Like, I could take sides and give honest opinion. But everyone who, again, if you haven't been living under a rock, you know, Candace Owens has been very vocal since Charlie Kirk's assassination. And it's like she's getting, I don't want to say she's getting more and more, I don't know if she's getting bigger necessarily, but in some ways she's just getting crazier. And I say that regardless if you like her or not, and regardless if you feel she's onto something or not, she's really revving it up. Like, she really is. She's really going after Turning Point. And apparently she's, well, not apparently, obviously, she's pissed Erika Kirk off. And somebody asked Erika Kirk about Candace, and the look she gave, like, if looks could kill, like, no. So, anyway, so the Candace thing, what she's been doing is ever since Charlie Kirk died, she, like, I get everyone copes in their own way. Everyone has, like, why did this happen and who really did it? Because there are some things, I'm not gonna lie, there are some things that don't make sense about the case, about, like, Tyler Robinson and other things that took place and that just didn't make sense. Something about how he took the gun apart, but yet he re-put it back together and then buried it. And then some people just think that because Candace has a hate heart-on for Israel, that she's putting it all on them. Now, I'm not going to fully dismiss that either, because honestly, anything is possible. Like we saw JFK, all right, and we got some of those files, and that was pretty sus, if I do say so myself. So it seems like she's either pinning it all on them or she's pinning it all on Turning Point. And it's some of it is just crazy, such as saying that Turning Point was in on it in some way, and then talking about Erika Kirk being followed by Egyptian planes, and what was another one? Although I must say that it was pretty weird that Netanyahu came out and said, "I did not kill Charlie Kirk." Like, that's kind of weird to say. That's kind of weirdly specific. But anyway, Candace is actually making bank because she's kind of gone so far off the deep end that she's making so much money per episode because she's getting a lot of viewers because she's gone a little crazy. Now, there's some things that, you know, I know that she has said that, you know, kind of makes you go, maybe. But then when she says that the only people who could stop her are her husband and Erika Kirk, then Erika Kirk says stop. And then Candace now is like, what am I wrong about? She said stop. Like, I think she even tried to say Erika may have been on it. I'm not sure. I try not to get too deep into people's craziness. But you have Candace going on, like, pointing fingers at everybody. Everybody but Tyler Robinson. And, like, personally, like, here's what my little small conspiracy theory is. I don't dismiss that it could have been an Israel Mossad thing, but I do think that Tyler Robinson did it. Here's what I think. All right, and this is like my own crazy conspiracy theory too. Like, I'm not going to be as like deep and wild as Candace. But Tyler Robinson, he was in Discord. Like, I have Discord too. It's in my link tree in my bio on X. Anyway, so he was on this Discord, and I really think that he was further radicalized on this Discord because he's had like a huge social media imprint, but he was big on Discord, and I really think he was radicalized on Discord. And Mossad is supposedly an extremely capable intelligence agency. So my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, I guess, is that he was radicalized by either Mossad or Mossad adjacent individuals on Discord to carry it out, because it it seems like he really did it. Like, there's people who've done body language of like little, like his little interview, first interview in front of the judge, and it really seems like he did do it to me. But I do feel like he didn't act alone, and I do feel like he may have been further radicalized by either Mossad or Mossad adjacent. Because here's the thing: is that if you are going to do something like that, and you are a foreign government trying to take out somebody in a different country, you want to try to keep your hands clean as much as possible. Get somebody else to do your dirty work, right? And it's completely plausible that some crazy ass leftist will do something like that, obviously, because I did. So that's what I think. I think that he was radicalized in Discord by either Mossad or Mossad adjacent. So I don't think that they directly, assassinated him, but I do think that they indirectly did it. Because we've seen our own FBI radicalize people and try to get them to carry out stuff, Like, we know intelligence agencies do that. Like, wasn't there like some sort of like kidnapping thing during COVID with the FBI and I believe the governor of Michigan or something? So we know intelligence agencies do that. So I don't think it's that far-fetched to think that he would have been radicalized by either Mossad or a Mossad adjacent organization. Oh, here's something. The FBI was at least partially responsible for J6. I wouldn't even say partially. I would say that they really threw some fuel onto the fire because there were a lot of very passionate people there. And I really think that they pushed the passionate people, and they also did it themselves to make it look more like those passionate people were doing more than they really were. I will say, however, about January 6th, the left, when they're unhappy, they torch businesses, cars, private property, loot, they do all that crazy stuff, riot. And then when the right wing was angry, they took it to the source. They took it directly to the government. And that I actually respect, because if your grievance is with the government, take it with the government. Don't ruin the livelihood of citizens that had nothing to do with it. Because the left likes to demonize the right about J6, but they took it to who the grievance was with. They didn't torch and loot private stuff. They didn't harm their fellow citizens. They took it to the government. And that's what if you have a grievance, you take it to who you have a grievance with. It just makes perfect sense. So yeah, on J6, I was actually I was like laughing all day, like a whole day. And because I was like, oh yeah, because, our government needs to be reminded that, the people, are still there. The people are the ones that, put them in charge. And if they falter, they falter. Now, I'm not necessarily trying to justify any kind of violence or threats of violence, but the thing I'm saying is that, when they got out of hand, they weren't damaging private property. They were going directly at the government. And it's so funny that the left tries to demonize the right for doing that, and then turn around and call them bootlickers. I'm sorry. Like, your issue, like, they'll torch police stations and stuff, but their issue is supposed to be like with the government at times, but they don't take it to the government. It's just so weird. It's just so weird. Yes, I said that from the beginning. Don't fuck with people, fuck with politicians. Exactly. Yeah. And don't forget to bully politicians daily, hourly is ideal. Um, anyway, so digressing, but back to the whole influencer beef. And so you got like people like Tim Pool who are, I believe he is spoken out against Candace, and Candace has tried to, throw some of her own wrenches at Tim Pool because Tim Pool had an incident where somebody showed up his property and fired some shots. Now, I believe those, especially because nobody was hurt, that, the shots that were fired were meant to scare into silence, which I believe, unfortunately, it might be working. I have heard that he's taking his show down. I don't know if he's like ending it or what. But Candace said that it was Tim's brother. How would she know that? Does she know Tim's brother? I don't think she's really in as much as she says she is. And I think she either may claim to have sources or she gets bad sources, because that just seems kind of weird and far-fetched. Because Tim has been swatted a lot. A lot. And the thing is that he's a moderate. That's just crazy. He's a moderate, and he's been swatted so many times as if he's such a threat. Because the left cannot control their emotions to fathom that people who disagree with them are existing. And yet they talk about, oh, you hate me because you disagree with me. That means that you think I shouldn't exist. No. You think I shouldn't exist because my opinions are different from yours. That's hate. I don't think you shouldn't exist because I disagree with you. What's ironic about the Coggies is they will cheer a voice they don't like being swatted. Yeah, they cheered an assassination of a man in front of his family. They're disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And then they want to talk about, like gun control, value of life, and tolerance, and all this other shit. But they are just the most hypocritical narcissists. And they are the biggest racists. They are the biggest misogynists. And hypocrites. Yeah. The biggest absolute hypocrites. Yeah. I can't get any extreme leftists on my channel. Yeah, because they refuse to have any sort of dialogue with anybody that they disagree with or that disagrees with them. That really shows lack of character. Because if you're not able or willing to defend your positions, how confident are you in your positions? And if you think that you are so right, you should be able to go and debate with somebody and show and prove how right you are. I would think, right? That just makes sense. But it feels like they're really just so stuck in their own reality, which is far from actual reality, that if they step out of their echo chamber, they just go crazy. They rage out. They, just lash out. Like, you've seen, like, all these freakouts. Like, they're all over TikTok. Like, they lost the election, and they were just literally screaming into their phones, on their cameras. They have no principles, so how could they have any character? Yeah, that's true. They don't have any principles. And they think that they're, like, morally superior. Like, come on. Oh. The extreme left will not debate anyone when the parameter is you cannot identify anyone other than human. Yeah. And they also just... They run on emotion. Like, I feel this way, or this is like, because they feel a certain way. That's how they lead, instead of this is a logical way, regardless if somebody feels this way or not. You can't run your life by your emotions, because your emotions can lie to you a lot. They really do. All right. Let's pull that up. StreamYard, what are you doing? Okay. So, yeah, so they're going back and forth. The right-wing influencers. I don't really know where some of the other ones, how some of them feel. I do know that it seems to be most people against Candace, because Candace has had the most outlandish like accusations and theories and whatnot, and a lot of it is the fact that she's very anti-Israel, which I honestly, I feel indifferent about the country itself, but I don't like any foreign country having any sort of involvement in our legislation process. I don't like any foreign involvement, period. I don't care who it is. But I feel as indifferent to them as I do any other country, because that's their thing. You do your thing. Like, you run your country how you see fit. Like, it's not how I want to live. Like, yeah, I can disagree with some of your tactics, but the way it comes down to it, like, just stay out of my government. Stop influencing my government. Like, any foreign, either Somali, it's like Ilan Omar, or it's IPAC. Like, just stop influencing decisions that are supposed to be for people of this nation by sending money overseas, sending anything overseas that doesn't benefit us. Okay? Because all that money is stolen anyway. Because taxation's theft. All that money is stolen that they're playing with. No foreign company should be lobbying our politicians. Yeah, exactly. There should not be any foreign company, no foreign representatives in any way. None of that should be lobbying and influence our politicians. And IPAC is not registered as a foreign, like a foreign agent. It's so weird. I think Kennedy was going to make him register as a foreign agent, and then Kennedy lost his mind, if you know what I mean. So, back to Candace. I kind of really wonder if she is doing this out of grief, because apparently, according to Candace, her and Charlie were like this. Like, they were like besties. I've seen videos of them, and they seem like they were like cool, like really good friends. Apparently, Candace actually worked for Turning Point at one point in time. So I don't doubt that Candace was close with Charlie. I don't doubt that at all. But what I do doubt is a lot of the motive on why she's gone so scorched earth. She's losing a lot of friends. She's losing a lot of supporters. There are people who do back her up, of course, because yes, there's conspiracy theories. Like, a lot of people love a good conspiracy theory. I do. I'm a total conspiracy theorist myself. But some of the things that she's doing, of course, has become very hurtful to some. And all of those theories, all of them, obviously, cannot be true. And so when you have so many different theories, some are dragging some people who are still in mourning over Charlie's assassination. It's just very hurtful. Charlie had a family, had very close friends, had colleagues that are very much still mourning him. And she's just making the pain fresh. She's keeping the pain fresh, and she's not letting up. She has Tucker Carlson fully behind her. I do really like Tucker. And here's why. Tucker is an actual real journalist, in the sense where he will book and interview anybody. Now, you won't see just anybody like on CNN. You just won't. But Tucker will Like, he had, like, Nick Fuentes on. He's had, like... The dude interviewed Vladimir Putin. That's what I think a real journalist would do. Regardless of who you are, a real journalist is supposed to get all sides of the story so the viewer can make up their mind. As well as his laugh, it's hilarious. But as far as what Tucker, the way he feels about Candace or how he backs Candace up, I don't really know much in regards to that. I know that people are dragging him as much as they are Candace, but I haven't heard Tucker say as many hurtful things as Candace. She, like I said, she's really keeping it fresh. She's keeping the pain fresh for people who are still in mourning. And this is going to be the first Christmas without Charlie. For his family and his friends, it's not going to be an easy Christmas, period. He's got really young children. And it breaks my heart to think about, this first Christmas without him. Not matter on opinions, Tucker is as big as there is in political commentary, period. He really is. And that's because he is a real journalist. He does do really good work. Like, regardless if you agree with him or not, you can't deny that the guy is a good journalist. Like, he does his stuff. He does his thing. And he does it, honestly, unbiasedly, because there is obviously some bias, but he's not... He gives anybody a platform so that the viewers can make up their own mind. So that's why I like Tucker. But, I can see why some people are turning their back because, of whatever he's saying and whatnot. But I think you can kind of separate some stuff. You can have respect for somebody who is good at their craft, regardless if you agree with their own beliefs. That's also a thing that leftists can't do. They can't separate artists from the art, which, going back to last week, was a lot of, talking about cancel culture and Brian Grofner and even Jake Monroe about you can't, or the left can't separate the whole artist from the art thing. And they, must cancel, must eliminate from the whole sphere, people who they disagree with and disagree with them and whatnot. And in some ways, the right, they talked about the left with cancel culture and this whole feud. They're like canceling each other, and it's getting messy, and it's getting even more messy because, this whole thing started. Well, kind of, yeah. I would say it started after Charlie's assassination. I'm not going to say Charlie necessarily kept them all together, but he was a good voice of reason. And, he was a really good voice of reason. He's gone now, and now people are fighting. And I think that says something. And it's also a testament to him, too. I honestly, the work that Charlie did, though, I don't think that can be undone. Some say that, and I was having a talk with a friend on X about Candace is tarnishing Charlie's legacy. However, the way I see it, Charlie's legacy is so rock solid because the guy was such a good guy and he was so good at what he did that not even Candace, nobody can ruin that for him. Because it's easy to drown out Candace or Tucker or anybody else, any detractors. Go back to any Charlie video and it just brings you in. And that's Charlie. So I don't think that could ever be taken from him or from anybody. Now, Turning Point, yes, that was his baby. Some people consider that his legacy, but it is just a thing. It is just a company. It's not what people brought. It's not the whole Socratic thing that he did, debate, asking questions, and being a voice for civil discourse and free speech. Regardless if Turning Point ends up shutting down or Turning Point just kind of loses their reputation because whoever's running it now just sucks or whatever. Except I don't know, I think Erika's running it. But Charlie's methods, the way Charlie did things, that I see as his legacy. The thing that he did also was he really brought a lot of people back to religion, which, like, I'm personally not, a religious person. I'm not an atheist, but I'm not, religious. That's something that is a legacy that I know he would definitely see as a legacy. The fact that people can see him as a man of faith, that's one thing he wanted to be remembered for, was his faith. And that's his legacy. And the fact that he was such a free speech advocate, like, I'm a huge free speech advocate myself. So as somebody who is a free speech advocate, that is one legacy of his that I actually really like about him. And I don't think any conspiracy theory, anything that Candace says or does to try to get the spotlight over the whole situation, I don't think any of that can be undone from Charlie, like, period. Like, his actual legacy is rock solid. Because it just is. He was such a good guy. Now, I don't necessarily know who else is in on this whole spat. I know there's other, like, I guess, smaller right-wing influencers, or Republican influencers, MAGA influencers, whatever you want to call them, that are kind of getting in on this whole beef. But I think it is mostly Candace against so many other people. And it's kind of a bit ugly. I will say, and some people say they're trying to, like, split the Republican Party, they're trying to kill MAGA. I don't really necessarily think that's true. I really feel like they think what they're doing is right. Both sides are doing what they think is right. And the issue is that they're not agreeing with what they think is right. And I think in some ways, in a lot of ways, it has to do with the fact that people are getting sick of foreign interference into our government. It's become more and more open that there's a lot of foreign interference in our government. And some rally behind it, which is weird. And some are just like, no. But some of the ones that are just like, no, are just like, oh, no, it's the devil. It's not great, but I'm not going to put all my chips onto that as being, like, the worst thing ever. But it seems like that's the biggest thing. And the ones who are for, like, let's say for the foreign interference, I'm not sure if they really understand the whole gravity of the situation of having a foreign government have so much influence in our legislative process. And not just, like, through, IPAC, because IPAC shells out so much money. Like, I would even say in the billions of dollars by now. And they have, like, almost every single congressman in their pocket, almost, except the wonderful and amazing Thomas Massie. So they've really had too much influence, really. And I don't see how people don't see that as there's some people that don't see that as a bad thing. Like, don't we want to have our interests? Like, we have our own problems. Like, we should take care of our shit first. And honestly, we should take care of our shit only. There's nothing over there that benefits us at all. Like, we shouldn't be over there. We should actually even close all our bases in Europe, because they've been talking shit. Close our bases in Europe and get the hell out of there. And sooner or later, historically speaking, the Germans are probably like, go crazy. You know what I mean? That's just, they can't help themselves. Historically speaking, they've done that a few times. Anyway, so we only have a few minutes left. And we want to have a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is the one and only libertariangoth.com, where it is the largest alt culture geared Liberty apparel store online. Cyberbully the government apparel. The I'm not a leftist, I just look like one, except I'm better looking. No, and I'm much better looking. Yeah, I need to get this one into a tank top. I know Brian Grofner, or Gasoline Vertebrate, he really likes this is one of his favorites. If you saw his Space Couch episode where I was on there, this is one that he liked. I should get into a tank top, since it seems like that's all he wears. And I don't know, maybe send him one for having me on the Space Couch. But yeah, no, check it out. I even have the best-selling Make America Goth Again hats and beanies. We got the trucker hats, we got the dad hats, we got the snapbacks, we got the beanies, and there's even some shirts. Just because why not? But if you're not really into goth, or you don't consider yourself goth, you are more of a metalhead, I got Make America Metal Again. Not a metalhead, more of a punk, I got Make America Punk Again. Same thing. Beanies, trucker hats, dad hats. I don't think there's I didn't make snapbacks for punks. It didn't seem very punk to do a snapback. And then there's Make America Emo Again, because the sad boys and girls, apparently they're still around. I don't know. I thought emos went away with the early 2000s, but they're still out there. Mostly beanies and dad hats and trucker hats for the emos. But yeah, check it out and use code Liberty for all for 10% off. That's Liberty, the number 4, all for 10% off. And also, I want to not forget to do this. Like, subscribe, share. I am trying to grow my, YouTube and Rumble and whatnot. I know I'm not gonna surpass Jake, but because I X is kind of my thing. But yeah, I would much appreciate if you like, share, subscribe. All the platforms, YouTube, Rumble, X, if you want to follow me on all of them, mostly on X. So I would love to see you there. So you can share the stream there and follow me on YouTube. And then you don't even have to watch it on YouTube if you want. You just watch on X. I don't care. But I am trying to grow the count on there, so it would be wonderful. And I do really appreciate everybody who came in tonight to chat about somewhat interesting, somewhat not, kind of just gossip, kind of just yeah, some same old, influencers misbehaving. But what else is new? They become I don't know, I don't say the Kardashians, but I don't know, sometimes these influencers let the stuff go through their head and they go a little crazy. All right. Well, thank you all again for coming in. I really appreciate you. And don't forget to always lead with kindness unless they don't deserve it.